Story 1. Family law paralegal here. Get everything in writing, texts, emails, and social media messages. Do not agree to anything or send money until you have legitimate medical documentation. I have seen too many people get scammed this way. Story 2. Family court clerk here. Please do not just take her word for it. A man came in who had been paying child support for 6 months before finding out there was never a child. Story 3. Ask for a prenatal paternity test. They exist, are non-invasive, and will end the guessing game quickly. If she avoids the topic and starts talking about feelings or something the universe told her, you might be dealing with a scam that results in repeated appearances on talk shows. Get proof or ask her to leave. Story 4. First, confirm that she is pregnant. Verify any proof you receive with a reverse image search. Do not sign any paperwork until a paternity test has confirmed fatherhood. If both are verified, congratulations on your new child. If not, you avoided potential complications by verifying. Always use a condom with partners if you do not wish to have children in the future. Story 5. Start spending every minute with her. Control her diet completely. No drinking, smoking, vaping, or processed food. Nothing with more than 3 ingredients. Only drink plain green tea and prune juice. Bed rest. She must stay in bed. Take prenatal vitamins. Lamaze classes are the only reason she can get out of bed. Make lists of baby names. She will give in within a week. Story 6. Tell her you want to be an involved father and attend her next appointment. That will confirm the pregnancy. Then get a paternity test, which can be done with a simple blood draw. If she is pregnant, they will be doing blood draws anyway. Story 7. Did you use protection? If not, it is possible. What do I do? Paternity test, of course. Are you even old enough to have sex? Who would be confused about this in 2025? Story 8. Tell her you want a paternity test, but put it in terms she can appreciate. Say, look, I want to do the right thing here, but without the test, I will live with doubt in my head, and that will ruin any chance of fully committing to this new life. This test is the first step in building the level of trust one will need to do this with you. Without it, the seeds of doubt will always be there, and I won't be able to live with myself. If she brings up not trusting her, say, we are not in a committed relationship yet, so of course my level of trust has not yet developed to the point where we need to raise a child. If you want to get to that level, this is a necessary first step. Do not let her do the test on her own. Insist on going with her, as people have faked these tests before. Many hospital healthcare systems use an app like MyChart. Try to do a test where you receive the results on your own profile within the app. Story 9. Paternity test as soon as possible. That is the only way to know for sure and to avoid getting trapped. Story 10. We need more information. Did you use a condom? If not, then you were extremely irresponsible and she could be pregnant with your child. Withdrawal does not work. If you did use a condom, it is possible that it broke, which is unfortunate, and I am sorry. What you need to do is get a prenatal paternity test to determine if it is your baby. If it is, then you need to talk to her and decide whether you are going to have the child. It seems evident that you both were unprepared, and she is someone you slept with, not a wife or even a girlfriend. Therefore, I recommend considering abortion. Do not bring a child into a difficult life with unprepared and unloving parents. Story 11. Well, let's start with the obvious. Did you ejaculate inside her, or did you use a condom? If she decides to carry the baby, you would likely do a paternity test because there is a good chance she might seek child support if the child is yours. She could also be lying to get money from you or to force you into a relationship. If this is the case, she is not being truthful. However, if she is carrying your child and decides to go through with it, and a paternity test confirms that the child is yours, welcome to being a father. Story 12. So you slept with her. She became pregnant. Now you are panicking. Did you think this through, or did your mind think for you? Story 13. Maybe start wrapping it up, brother. Oh yes, and you have to wait until the child is born to get a paternity test. Story 14. Take a test. Not yours. Wish her well and have no contact. Well, then you have a terrible parting gift. Story 15. No proof that she is pregnant or that it is yours. Each of these happened to me. The first case, the woman refused to take a pregnancy test I bought her. I needed to know so we could weigh our options, but she just refused. We were not in a relationship, so termination could be an option if she agreed. I was scared she would try to wait until she could no longer terminate the pregnancy to force me into a relationship. When I told her I was serious that this would not make me be in a relationship, she backed off and just said it was taken care of. I do not know if that means she aborted it or if it was never real to begin with. The second case, she said she was definitely having the child, and I could walk away if I wanted. I said I could not live with my child out in the world without his father, so we agreed to co-parent. We were broken up when she told me she was 3 months pregnant, so I told her I needed a paternity test before signing the birth certificate. If you live in the United States, once it is signed, you have to fight not to be held responsible for child support, so I suggest you do the same thing. Do not sign the certificate until after the paternity test results. Then, definitely sign it because it assures you parental rights. Good luck, friend. Story 16. Do not sign anything with her. Get a deoxyribonucleic acid test before birth. Do not agree to anything or give money for support. If the deoxyribonucleic acid test shows it is yours, congratulations, you are a father. If the deoxyribonucleic acid test shows it is not yours, block and move on from her if you are not in a relationship with her. Story 17. Do not panic, do not make assumptions, and do not commit to anything until there is solid proof. You have legal rights, and it is okay to protect yourself while still being respectful and waiting for a paternity test. Story 18. Do nothing without a paternity test. Do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything. Do not offer any help that might imply you are taking responsibility. Consult a family lawyer who can help you navigate the claims. Story 19. Be supportive. Ask when her next obstetrician-gynecologist appointment is and tell her you want to go because you want to be an active father. If she pushes back, then you might have a problem. If she doesn't, then great. In the meantime, get tested to see if your sperm are healthy. Then you can let her know you need to have the child tested because you were told you had a very low chance of becoming a father. This would mean so much to your family. Story 20. 100% get that proof. I had a coworker claim that a person was the father of the child when, in reality, she had no clue. Insane. Story 21. Paternity test. Do not give her any money or put in any effort until you know the child is yours. This is a strategy as old as time. Story 22. Be patient if you cannot afford it. Get a paternity test. Be honest with yourself or whoever you need to be honest with. It is not the end of the world. Breathe. If the child is not yours, that is a pretty fun story, but only in hindsight. Story 23. Demand a test. Then stop seeing that person. Keep your pants zipped, dude. These things ruin lives, yours, theirs, and the kids. Story 24. What do you mean? What do you do? You have already done it. I say be responsible next time. If she is claiming to be pregnant, be thankful. If you never intended that type of response from her, then why sleep with her in the first place, especially without protection? Be a man about it. Story 25. Assume you could be the father while you wait for the results of a paternity test. That does not mean opening your wallet to a whole new nursery, but if there is a chance she is right, have that money set aside. You have the ultimate proof in a deoxyribonucleic acid test. However, the key part is how you conduct yourself in the short term. Story 26. She needs to prove it is yours. It is her claim that you are the father by her word only. It is up to her to pay for a deoxyribonucleic acid paternity test. It should not be left to the other party to prove her assumptions. I would seek legal advice first though. Story 27. As a woman, I tell you not to commit to anything before you have a paternity test, and keep all communications either in writing or as voice messages. Always have proof. If possible, go with her to doctor's appointments and clearly express your doubts. But if it turns out to be true, do not be a deadbeat. Story 28. There are two types of proof you need. Is she actually pregnant with timing that aligns to when you were with her? This is straightforward. Are you the father or is it someone else? If the first is true, then you need a reason to doubt the second. Why would you think it is not yours? Story 29. Do absolutely nothing until the child is born and then start with a paternity test. Also, you should get a sexually transmitted disease test for yourself. Do not give her any money during the pregnancy. That might sound cold, but until you know for sure, keep your wallet closed. Most importantly, try not to let the situation affect your mind, because if it turns out to be true, you will need to be in a clear state of mind to make the best decisions for yourself and the child if it is yours. Story 30. Do you have any reason not to believe her? Was it a one-night thing? Do you think she slept with other men too? Does she have reasons to lie to you? How does becoming a father make you feel? Just remember, it might actually be your child, and in this case, you will have to deal with it. If your only thought now is to prove that it is not yours and you start putting pressure on the mother, this will likely affect the entire relationship with the child and the mother for the rest of your life. My personal opinion: keep calm. If you really believe that it is not yours, talk to the mother about it and ask her for a paternity test. But also start preparing for potentially being a dad. Remember, that is a wonderful and natural thing. Story 31. When my sister pulled this stunt on her ex, it turned out she was not even pregnant. Make sure you communicate only through text or email from now on. Document everything. Do not send her money and do not make any promises. Protect yourself first. Story 32. Sounds like a trap. A lot of guys would say, well, I guess if she's pregnant, we don't need condoms anymore. Or if she's pregnant and it's mine, I better stay with her for the kid's sake. Don't commit to anything just because. Don't buy an engagement ring and don't have unprotected sex. If you decide to stay with her for now, use a condom every single time. Don't let her control the condom. If you didn't bring one, you don't have sex. Don't use one from her desk. She could have tampered with it. If she's on top, be painfully aware if you slip out at any point. Don't sign the birth certificate unless you want the legal burden to prove the child isn't yours. Some states require you to pay child support until you prove otherwise with DNA testing. Without your signature, she must prove the child is yours before support is required. Once she starts really showing if you're still with her and want unprotected sex, that's your choice, but don't rely on the early stage of pregnancy when she might have had a couple of beers. Try to hide these precautions as best as you can. If she gives you a condom from her desk, you can say, "Oh, I was trying to squeeze the air out and the tip tore off. Sorry." Or, "Why are you wearing condoms?" "Oh, I had a urinary tract infection and didn't want to give it to you, especially while pregnant." Or some other excuse. Do not go out and get drunk around her. If she and her friends invite you out for shots, saying, "Oh, it's okay. If she can't drink, I'm not drinking in front of her." Or, no, it's fine. Don't believe it. It's not fine. If you're dating anyone else, make sure she hears it from you first. You don't want to fight about this, especially if the situation is not true or is misunderstood. Buckle up. Pregnancy hormones can be very intense. Avoid any potential traps. That said, go to all the doctor's appointments, see the ultrasound, pick the kid's name with her, decorate the baby's room, and do all the things you'd be afraid to miss if this is your child. Take care of the mother. Neonatal vitamins are important. Handle cravings. If she wants a burger at 2 a.m., make it happen somehow. If she wants ice cream with horseradish, try your best. Make sure to familiarize yourself with foods she shouldn't eat during pregnancy, like sushi and deli meats. Some of it is surprising. Good luck. This happened to me 4 times with different women. 1 was my child, and the mom was a nightmare. 2 was not pregnant at all but lied, saying I was going to leave her, which made me leave her. 3 was not my child. 4 was my child, and by the way, she's great too, my wife. Story 33. The correct answer is to request a deoxyribonucleic acid test before you accept any legal responsibility or provide any assistance. If you provide assistance, a court may construe that as you assuming responsibility, which could hurt you if the child is not yours and they try to force you to assume parental responsibilities. Also, if you provide resources and the child is not yours, you would have to sue the woman for theft by deception, which is a separate issue. If the deoxyribonucleic acid test comes back positive, then you have to take responsibility. Anecdotally, one of my coworkers who was in the army during the original Desert Storm had a similar experience. An ex showed up and told him she had his baby, leaving him with the child as she left. He was not going to let the baby suffer, so he took care of it for a while he got a deoxyribonucleic acid test done. The test came back negative, and he was also told he was infertile, so he could not have children. He took the baby to the woman's grandmother and left it with her family. Short answer: do not get trapped by an irresponsible woman trying to trick you into taking ownership of a baby that is not yours. If the baby is yours, then you become a good father who teaches your child so this does not happen to them. Next time, make sure to bring a condom or just say no. Story 34. Change your phone number, cancel your credit cards, take all your money, and leave the country. Start a new life. Story 35. Are you in North America? If yes, and you are not particularly happy about it, 1. Do not accept her word as fact. People can be deceptive. Do not have unprotected sex with her. Use your own condoms. Tell her you want a DNA test. There are 2 types: in vitro and post-labor. In vitro is more expensive. Do not give her any money or baby supplies. The only expense you should be willing to cover up front is the DNA test. Financially supporting her up front, whether with cash or items, is an acceptance of responsibility for fatherhood. This means you could end up paying child support for the next 18 years even if you are not the father. She and others may try to guilt you into paying and recognizing the child as yours. Best practice is to start putting child support cash aside in a savings account. Tell her and anyone else that you will only take financial responsibility if paternity is proven. Although the courts have been unfavorable to men in the past, child support and visitation should always be handled through the courts. This way, you have proof of payment and better recourse if she tries to manipulate the situation using the child. Additionally, do not pay any of her bills, including cell phone, utilities, rent, groceries, car payments, or similar expenses. These are strictly her responsibility. Child support is separate from all that, and you do not want to set a precedent. Story 36. Stop sleeping with people you are not willing to have babies with. This would be a great preventative measure, but it is too late now. Story 37. Play the game for a little while. Don't alienate her immediately. Let it play out just a bit. Tell her you want to attend the appointments with her. Make sure this is genuine. Then, as the father, you get to ask the doctor many conception questions, timelines, and such. And of course, as many have already said, request a paternity test. All of this is hard to do if you go scorched earth immediately. Story 38. Just do a paternity test, brother. Easier said than done, but yes, this is the only way to be sure. Sadly, in some countries, even once the baby is born, the test results will be inadmissible and the test may even be illegal if the mother does not consent to it. Story 39. What are all these answers here? Yes, pregnancies can happen without being trapped, especially if the original poster was too careless to use protection. The original poster is not a wealthy professional basketball player. Does she even want to keep the baby? If so, it is prudent to have a paternity test done, but until then, there is no reason to doubt her or make accusations. If the child is yours, it is better to take responsibility, pay child support, and try not to negatively affect the child's life. Story 40. Been there. Tell her you want to get a non-invasive prenatal paternity test done. It is a paternity test that can be done at about 8 weeks into pregnancy. See how she reacts to that. That will be very telling. Story 41. Without evidence that it is yours, or without evidence that she is pregnant. If it is the latter, invite her over, buy some tests, and have her take them in your house. The first, however, is trickier. You cannot legally require her to do a DNA test so early, but then again, she cannot legally claim money or other things from you. However, it is possible to do a DNA test early in the pregnancy. Story 42. Find a paternity lawyer and prepare for a stressful 9 months unless you miraculously get her to agree to an in vitro fertilization paternity test. Story 43. Get a paternity test if there are doubts. It sounds like this is not a woman you are in a committed relationship with. This is something you should insist on. They no longer have to insert a needle into the uterus. It is now just a blood test, which is very safe. So insist on it. Do not sign a birth certificate without a paternity test. If you do end up being the father, step up and be a father. If not, wish her the best of luck with the baby and move on with your life. Story 44. I would honestly tell her you want a paternity test and deoxyribonucleic acid test. I would not trust that. I grew up with a friend who decided to believe the woman, and after 19 years found out it was never his. He was very upset. He only stayed with the girl because of the child. So I would check that. Do not ruin your life. Story 45. Going through this right now, brother. Honestly, if she will not provide proof now, she never will. Cut ties and keep moving forward. It is unfortunate for the child, but you have to do what you have to do. Story 46. Parental rights and obligations do not start until birth. So for the moment, there are none. At this point, we call it Schrodinger's baby. It both exists and does not exist, and is yours and not yours. After birth, you have the option of being involved in the child's life. If the mother wants this, she will agree to a paternity test if the baby is yours. If she wants you to be involved but does not agree to the test, the baby is not yours, and she is seeking unofficial support. In that case, you walk away. If you want to be involved but the mother does not want you to be, hire a lawyer. Story 47. My position on this is always the same but firm. You find out through paternity testing if you are the father when there is reason to doubt it. If there is any doubt, you should be unapologetic about confirming paternity. If you are the father, it is your responsibility to support and raise the child. This is a significant responsibility, one you may not be ready for, but it has arrived nonetheless. What I am absolutely not saying is that you are obligated to have a deep romantic relationship with the mother. It is 2025, and there should be no shotgun weddings to preserve someone's dignity or purity. Those ideas were outdated then and are still outdated now. What is true is that a child is blameless and defenseless. If you contributed to creating a child, it is reasonable to expect you to help raise the child. Perhaps it would be better if we had an empathetic, well-developed social safety net and a society that did not cast unwanted or unprivileged people aside. Maybe in that world, walking away would be acceptable. But we do not, and probably never will, live in that world because humans tend to be greedy and self-centered. Do not be like that. Step up. Story 48. You can get a paternity test by either obtaining a court order or going to LabCorp DNA testing and DNA diagnostic center. Alternatively, search online for the nearest DNA testing and diagnostic center and purchase a legal test. Home tests are not accepted by the courts, but they will accept tests from these centers. Story 49. First, ensure she is actually pregnant. Second, check the timelines to confirm it is feasible that you are the father. Then, get a paternity test to be certain. Story 50. If you are in the United States for a paternity test, if she wants any kind of child support or financial support from you, she will first have to prove you are the father. Story 51. Paternity test as soon as possible. Until paternity is determined, do not send money or take any action. I have had this happen to a family member, and 2 years later we found out it was not his. There are now paternity tests called amniocentesis. Story 52. Well, she either is or she is not. Hint. If you used a condom, she probably is not, though nothing is 100% certain. As others have said, get a paternity test. Story 53. Nothing until she brings proof. Once you know she is pregnant, get a paternity test and do not sign or agree to anything until you have the test results. If she does not agree, wait until she files and contests paternity. A judge will then order it. Story 54. Whatever you do not sign a birth certificate or any other legal documents until you know the baby is yours or that you at least want to be a father. Without that, at least in my country, you do not have any financial or other responsibility to a child. Once you sign, you need to go through the court system to have it removed unless the mother agrees. Story 55. When are you going to start giving these women fake names and using text now numbers? Story 56. It could be a scam. She may buy a used pregnancy test kit from Amazon showing a positive result even though she is not pregnant. Then, she might ask you for money if you want to terminate the pregnancy. She may have done the same thing to other people. If not, then get ready to be a dad and pay child support if she wants to keep the baby. This lack of proper prevention is going to cost you. Story 57. Communicate in writing, such as text or email. Do not agree to anything or make any payments. Consult a lawyer and obtain a paternity test. Story 58. Paternity test. If she refuses one, say goodbye. Also, next time, be careful and use protection. Story 59. Get a lawyer. Have the lawyer communicate with this woman. Do not try to handle this yourself. The lawyer can coordinate a prenatal paternity test. You do not want her to give birth and put you on the birth certificate. Story 60. For your information, some of you seem to think that condoms are 100% effective. They are not. Every method of birth control provides less than 100% protection, except for complete abstinence. Story 61. So, when you say no actual proof, has she declined to give you any? If she refuses, I would ignore her. Watch out, though. In some countries, a woman can name a father, and if he does not dispute it, he becomes the legal father after some time has elapsed without challenge. You might want to look into that. Be cautious if she starts to ask for money or assistance without any actual proof. Get a test. Some women arrange fake tests or fake results, so watch out for that too. Story 62. Ask for proof through a lawyer. You can do deoxyribonucleic acid tests on a baby after around 7 weeks of pregnancy. You will have to pay, but then you will know. If she does not agree, then I would say you are not the father and should move on with your life. Story 63. When she asks you for child support, make her do a paternity test. They should do it automatically, but many women try to trap men this way. This is simple. Then you'll know if the child is yours, and you can spend time with the child and provide support properly. If it is not your child, she should find the biological father and have him pay. If that is not the case, I apologize. Story 64. Do not do anything until there is a paternity test confirming that you are the father. There are too many fraudsters. Do not sign the birth certificate or any documents until there is proof. Story 65. A. Do not have unprotected sex if you do not want to have a child. B. Obtain a paternity test. C. Obtain a sexually transmitted disease test. D. Remove her from your life unless she is the one or she is actually pregnant with your child. Story 66. Obtain definitive proof that she is pregnant first, if possible. If she is pregnant, contact a lawyer. If she is not pregnant, make sure she did not miscarry before you accuse her of anything. If you cannot get proof, your best option is to retain legal representation in case any paperwork with your name starts appearing. Story 67. First and foremost, you should have been more responsible and proactive. You have to pay to play. You should not have put yourself in this position. Story 68. Get a lawyer. Do not have sex with her anymore until you have proof, and ask for a paternity test. Depending on your relationship, she might be offended by that. From your wording, I assume this was just a hookup and not something that went on for a longer period of time. If it turns out she is pregnant, start saving money, even if the paternity test is not done yet. You have to start preparing for everything as if you already know she is having your baby, because if you wait until you have it figured out, there most likely will not be much time for you to adjust before the baby arrives. It is better to have money on the side in case you are really becoming a father than to find out you will be a father and be completely unprepared. Story 69. Wait until she has a baby, and before giving her anything, get a DNA test. Pretty simple. Also, probably work on your withdrawal method, old chap. Story 70. I do not know, but it seems to me the obvious answer is to believe her without a doubt and raise the child even if the child does not resemble you and you are sterile. Story 71. What did both of you think was going to happen? The only thing you can do is a paternity test when the baby is born and take responsibility if it is yours. Be an actual present father. We have enough broken human beings lost in this world. Also, maybe stop having unprotected sex or at least educate yourself about what happens when you do. Do not even suggest an abortion to her. If you did not have unprotected sex, there would not be a baby growing inside her. Now both of you will have to face the consequences. Or maybe, if you are lucky, she will have to look for the child's father on her own. Story 72. Tell her to follow the yellow brick road and try that nonsense with someone else. I have been through this twice, and I am only in my early 30s. Both experiences were full of nonsense. I guarantee she is lying. I would not worry. Story 73. There is nothing you can do except wait for the baby to be born and ask for a paternity test to prove whether it is yours. Use a condom and be responsible if you do not want to have children. Story 74. No actual proof, except the proof you just posted on Reddit. I just took a screenshot of your post. Send me $400 through the Venmo payment service, or I will send this image to her. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.